Welcome to my channel Pediatric Classes. Today we will discuss another topic, that is the transposition of great arteries, TGA. We have two types of TGA. One is the DTGA and another thing is the LTGA. In DTGA, what happens is the aorta is placed anterior and to the right of the pulmonary artery. Hence it is called dextro, that is DTGA. Whereas in LTGA, the aorta is placed anteriorly but to the left of the pulmonary artery. So it is LTGA. Let's discuss first the DTGA and later we will discuss the LTGA part. Okay. Now coming to the DTGA, what happens is, here the aorta will arise from the right ventricle and the pulmonary artery will arise from the left ventricle. So let us see the blood distribution there. So blood comes to the RA, will go to the RV, will go to aorta, because aorta arises from the right ventricle, blood is pushed into the systemic circulation, comes back to LRA. Whereas the left atrium is connected to the left ventricle and from the left ventricle arises our pulmonary artery. The blood is pushed across the pulmonary artery to the lungs and again comes back to the LA. So what is actually happening here? There is a complete separation of the oxygenated and the deoxygenated blood. Here is the deoxygenated blood, here is the oxygenated blood. So always we should remember that this case will not survive unless there is a communication at least at the atrial level or ventricular level or by the help of collaterals. Coming to the classification of TGA, TGA can be divided broadly into TGA with intact ventricular septum, that is there is no VSD out there, and another one is TGA with ventricular septum. Again, this is further divided into TGA with VSD with pulmonary stenosis and without pulmonary stenosis. Why is it important here is, TGA with VSD with PS will behave like a Fallot's tetralogy. So, coming to the clinical features of the different types of TGA. First, let us discuss TGA with an intact ventricular septum. So, TGA with intact ventricular septum means this area is not there. It will be like this. So, there can be a communication between the right atria and the left atria with the help of a PFO or a small AST. Definitely that will lead to poor mixing only. So once that is because of it, these children with intact TGA with intact ventricular septum will present very early, that is at birth they will present with cyanosis. They will also present with CCF in the first 1 to 2 weeks of life. So what are the clinical features? We will see cyanosis, we will see tachypnea, features suggestive of congestive cardiac failure. S1 will be normal, S2 will be single. There may be a very insignificant ejection systolic murmur in such cases. Means, now let us discuss the clinical features of TGA with VSD without pulmonary stenosis, that is increased pulmonary blood flow is there. Okay, so here there is a connection, there is a VSD. Because there is a VSD, there is a mixing of oxygenated and a deoxygenated blood. There is a good mixing happening. So the cyanosis will be mild, and these children tend to present with CCF a bit late, maybe around 6 to 10 weeks of age. So on examination we get a mild cyanosis, we will get the features of CCF like tachypnea and other things. Now when we see the S1, again normal, S2 will be single or widely split. There may be an injection systolic murmur, but the grade will be more. It will be around 2 to 6 grade injection systolic murmur may be there in case of a TGA with VSD. And TGA with VSD with pulmonary stenosis will behave like a Fallot's, which I have already discussed in the class on top. Now, so coming to the investigation, first we will discuss the case of TGA with intact ventricular septum. What happens? ECG, you will get a right axial deviation, you will get a right ventricular hypertrophy. And on the X-ray when you see, we will get a typical appearance, that is called egg gordon appearance. Egg gordon appearance. Why is it so? Egg gordon appearance is because there is a huge cardiomegaly along with a narrow base. So that is why it is called Egonian appearance. You may get a pulmonary plethora in this case, and typically thymic shadow is also absent here. Confirm it with echocardiography, where you will be able to see exactly the origin of the arteries. We also, if you do a ventriculography, you will be able to make out that right ventriculography will show that the aorta is originating from there, and the left ventriculography will show that the pulmonary artery is originating from the left ventricle. The investigation of TGA with VST, with a increased pulmonary blood flow, again when you see in this ECG, again you see a right axis deviation, you may see a RVH or LVH or a VVH. That means you may see a right ventricular or left ventricular or a biventricular hypertrophy in such cases. Coming to the X-ray findings, again X-ray will here also will show cardiomegaly, will show pulmonary plethora. There may even be signs of pulmonary arterial hypertension in this case. Next, echocardiography will again show the origin of the arteries, will also show any presence of the VST, and we will be able to find out the pulmonary artery pressures. Coming to the treatment part of TGA, treatment medical management includes PGE1 infusion, that is alprostadine infusion 0.1 to 0.2 mics per kg per minute to maintain the patency of the ductus. Such neonates who require this PGE1 infusion may require an early palliative surgery. What is the palliative surgery which we do in a case of TGA with intact ventricular septum is? So we are discussing the treatment of TGA with intact ventricular septum. So what is the palliative surgery we can do is, they are actually called Rashkin's balloon atrial septostomy, where you create a septostomy. How does it help? It will help by decreasing the load on the left atrium. It will also help in improving the mixing of the blood, and more oxygenated blood will reach the circulation. So that is the point of doing a Rashkin's balloon atrial septostomy. Now what is actually the definitive procedure is, there are two definitive procedures. Either you can do arterial switch operation or you can do for atrial switch operation. So what happens in an arterial switch operation? In an arterial switch operation, the aorta and the pulmonary artery trunk is resected, and so once this aorta is attached to the proximal part of the pulmonary artery, which is a neo-aortic root, and this is a neopulmonary root, okay, and this pulmonary artery is attached to the proximal part of the aorta, that is the neopulmonary root. Now what happens? The blood flow will be from right ventricle to pulmonary artery to the lungs, LA to LV to aorta, and the whole thing will be maintained. So there is no mixing of the systemic and the pulmonary circulation. And this operation, if we are doing on a patient with TGA with intact septum, we have to do within 2 to 4 weeks of life. Why so? Otherwise what will happen is, see, in the initial TGA I told you, left ventricle is connected to the pulmonary artery. As the neonate grows, the PVR or the pulmonary vascular resistance will decrease. So our left ventricle also will regress in size. So once all regression happens and then you go for this arterial switch operation, LV will not be able to tolerate the load of the systemic circulation. So that is why if you are doing an arterial switch operation in a patient with intact septum, yes, you have to do it early within first 2 to 4 weeks of life. Then the LV will get adjusted to the systemic circulation in 1 to 2 months and maybe will be alright. What are the complications of this surgery? There are certain complications like aortic root dilatation, aortic regurgitation. Then there is another one complication is about the coronary artery stenosis. In the arterial switch operation, other than the attaching of this pulmonary to the RV and the aortic to the neo-aortic root, we also do one another thing, that is we take the coronary arteries with the cusp of aortic tissue and transplant it to the neo-aortic root also. Now let us discuss another definitive procedure, that is the atrial switch operation. Reverse the flow at the atrial level. Okay, at the atrial level we reverse the flow by creating an intra-atrial baffle that directs all the systemic venous blood into the LA. So from LA to LV it will go to the pulmonary artery to the lungs for oxygenation, and we also direct the pulmonary venous blood to the right atrium, to the right ventricle, and then it gets pumped into the systemic circulation through the aorta. So this will establish a normal route of blood flow. There are two types of atrial switch operation, that is Mustard's atrial switch operation and Senning's atrial switch operation. Mustard's operation uses a pericardial patch or a prosthetic baffle, whereas in a Senning's operation we use the patient's own atrial septum or the RA free wall for creating the baffle. What are the complications of this atrial switch operation? Atrial switch operation is also associated with certain complications like atrial rhythm abnormalities. There is chance of fluid accumulation, fasciitis. There is chance of RV dysfunction, severe TR, etc. But this is actually not good, the atrial switch operation also, because that time RV has to maintain the systemic circulation throughout the life. To patients with TG with VSD, here we can do an arterial switch operation a bit late also. We can delay even a bit into at least up to 3 months of age, because here that regression of the left ventricle does not happen, because VSD or the PDA will maintain the integrity of the left ventricle. Now coming to the LTJ. LTJ, as I discussed earlier, here RA, here the RA is connected to the left ventricle. From the left ventricle arises the pulmonary artery, goes to the lungs for oxygenation, then goes to the LA, then LA is connected to the right ventricle, and from the right ventricle arises the aorta. So what happens is, there is a normal route of blood flow is maintained, so the patients may not have much of cyanosis. So how this people become symptomatic is because of the associated anomalies. These patients can be associated with VSDs. They can have a right-sided Epstein's anomaly, which will behave like a mitral regurgitation. They may have rhythm abnormalities, etc. And definitely, what we should do is, we should do an ECG. That will definitely show that ventricular discordance will be there. We will get, when you see lead V1, V2 and all, we will get Q waves. And when you see V6, V4 and all, there won't be Q waves there. The X-ray will show a smooth upper border, because the upper border is formed by the ascending aorta, and echocardiography, it will show you the ventricular inversion. Treatment of the is according to the associated anomalies. So in this class, we have discussed in short about transposition of great arteries, the clinical features, hemodynamics, and the treatment part of it. Hope this session was useful for you. Thank you so much.